Hello everyone, it's Robin DeGroot with TLC, Truth, Love, Creativity. And today I'm going to first give a shout out to some of the products that I've been using and have been having some good luck with. So I had mentioned the last video, the Chi Shield or Key Shield. It's spelled Q-I Shield, and that is from the Chi Key Protect company that creates a torus field around me. This will be 8 feet in most radius directions around me, and I think 6 feet above and 6 feet below. The torus field is a protective field for living organisms that helps to have some kind of protection from all different electromagnetic frequencies. So I've been keeping it around me in the house wherever I'm working, and actually you can bring it with you when you're driving or in a plane or any of those things, and the radius is a little bit smaller, but it's still, that's a really good time to have it with me when I'm in the midst of all kinds of different field and waves and all those things. The other thing is I'm wearing one of the Melaleuca Say Bella lipsticks. This one is Peacemaker. Am I being a peacemaker these days? We will see. I think sometimes you do have to fight for justice in order to have peace. And another one is one of It Works' skincare products. This one is their Repair. It's just a little tube, but it is quite helpful, I find, when, especially in the desert climate, I have really dry skin. So I do have a humidifier going most nights, and I find that when I put this on before I sleep at night, in the morning, if there were already some kind of blemishes and things, it really helps for my skin to look better and seems to support it. I've never had really significant results from most products, so I'm actually kind of impressed with that one because I notice in the mornings that it looks better. So the other thing is sleep. I've been getting pretty good sleep. The hours are always a little tricky when the schedule is so nonchalant or whatever's going on these days. But I've been taking some things with melatonin, and It Works just came out with a tea for sleeping at night. And I'm not taking it every day, but I am using it sometimes when I'm trying to sleep earlier in the evening and adjust the sleep schedule. And the other thing is my own prescription that I get from a BioIdentical hormone doctor. Integrative and functional medicine doctors often will prescribe these when you're working with them for all of the balance that you're working towards with hormones. And I was out of it for a few months and I didn't get the prescription filled. And then I redid it. And this one is progesterone, so it's for the last 14 days of my cycle before the bleed, and it helps to replace the feel-good hormone of progesterone. That definitely helps me with mood. Now, this cycle, it started to be, I mean, it's a little bit late-ish, not really. It's about 3 days longer than last month. And the months before, which it was kind of like a 28-day cycle, but I was always a 30 or longer cycle. So it's kind of going back to that, and I prefer that. It seems to be lighter. Everything, I do feel a better mood when I take that. I think it helps my skin eventually, and I think that the energy and all of those things that can be waning in that PMS week, that premenstrual syndrome week, it is definitely helped by some progesterone if you find you're someone with that type of tendency. Now, I don't have serious issues. I've never had extreme pain or any of those things, which I'm super grateful for. But I was always in this kind of extreme week before where I would be trying to be a perfectionist with all of these idealistic convictions in my life. And how that played out with relationships seemed to be that anything that the person did that really always chronically bothered me, I would try to break up with them or something like that. So I think it could be helpful even in your relationships if you have whatever your certain tendencies are, then maybe you work with a bioidentical hormone doctor and try to figure these things out. Now also, I found a store near the Sprouts in Tucson or Marana direction. And it is a metaphysical store, which I haven't seen one of those for a very long time, since I used to be in California, in Northern California, and I used to go to one in Palo Alto. And this store had so many lovely things. I could spend way too much money there, but I did buy some incense. They were burning some of it in the store, and this one is called Sacred Space. And it was really, really nice. I was so calmed and felt very peaceful with it. And also just the burning smells, when they're not too strange, then it really reminds me of holidays and kind of a sacred, the sacred space is a perfect name for that, because the sacredness and the introspection and things are going to be okay, and even if these times are so difficult, then it's kind of, we're rising up to the challenge. So I bought this package because I also sent some to my daughter and my son, gave some to my friend and my husband and all of these people, and I kept some. So this was a really nice holiday type of gift. And another thing I got when I was on the Hay House emails, I am on their emails, and they had a sale on card decks. So I got the Witch's Wisdom Tarot, and I'm actually going to I bought a few more tarot decks because I want to practice a little bit more with tarot and not only oracle decks. I do have a lot of them on my phone as decks that you can shuffle by sliding them around, and then you choose them and the card flips around and you can read it, which is very helpful, especially when you're learning and you want to just use it as a divination technique that is very in the moment. You can connect with your intuition, and those things are really great. However, many of the card decks have not been updating with the new phones and the new iOS updates. And I'm not sure about Android, but this is my experience. So that's a bit of a bummer. And I also want to do a bit more on video, and I would like to show all of the live decks because they're so beautiful. So this one looks like this, the back of the deck, and I've shuffled them around. And I tend to shuffle them a little bit upside down and right side up so that we can get some, if they are reversed, if that's the energy coming out to you, then that's what we need for the day, just to keep in mind and work with. So today's card is 5 of Earth reversed. So I wanted to show it to you, not reversed. Oh wow, now the bones become upright. That's pretty crazy. So this card is about the recycling of everything that the earth is and uses and gives. And it's kind of like the circle of life here. So we have the rabbit jumping over the flowers and the bones, and there's some kind of scythe there, and there's rocks and minerals and elements of the earth. So the bones could be apparent because rabbits have this prolific birth rate, but they also don't necessarily have a super long life in the wild. And this card shows about all of the continuous cycle of life. And when we got it reversed, that may be not necessarily a warning, but a consideration or thought about, are we really remembering about the continuous cycle of life, which has life, birth, life, death, and all that happens in between, and that we are holistic beings, and that we have a purpose here. And as holistic beings, we are spiritual beings, we're energetic beings, we're physical beings, and we are thinking beings, and we're feeling beings, all of those things. So really, it's always the mind, spirit, and physical that comes in the holistic idea. But I always feel like the spirit and the heart are very intertwined, and our mind and our body is part of the physical life that is, especially the mind becomes the bridge. So I hope we can remember these things, that we have all of this available to us, that this is our gift, and that we are thinking beings, we are feeling beings, and we're intuitive beings, because when we think about something that we see or we feel, we can ponder, we can think, we can research. And that brings me to my next segment of this video, which is about some of the books that I have been ordering. A lot of them are based on videos that I've been watching, and a lot of those are based on interviews. So I actually met Mark Siegel, and he had written this book. So he's a very interesting person in that he's medical, and he's also a writer, and he's a contributor when he comes on to the news. But this book, False Alarm, The Truth About the Epidemic of Fear, is a very interesting book about fear and our health, and also psychology, and about certain things that have happened in the past years. So taking a look at that and how it is with ourselves and society. I haven't read it yet, so I've only seen some of the chapters where they're dealing with, and I'm very excited to read all these books. I have not read them. I have the gist of them because of the interviews. The next one is The Contagion Myth by Dr. Tom Cowan, MD, and Sally Fallon Morell, or Morell, I'm not sure. And this book, I think, is very important, just talking about how we have considered disease, how we consider that we're diagnosing or isolating, or are we isolating, and all of those things. So this book talks a bit about the past viruses. Have we actually isolated them? Do viruses truly mean that the disease that you are seeing in that same sphere of time are directly linked to that virus? These are all very good questions that he talks about in there. And I think we definitely have to consider those questions in going forward and looking at the past, looking at where medicine is going. Is medicine now going backwards, or is it stagnating? Because we don't want to look at possible reality of truths that maybe something we've been doing something for so long is not completely correct. And here's another awesome book. This book's been taking the world by storm. I've seen Dr. Sucharit Bhakti on several interviews, and one was with Del Bigtree in the earlier days when this book was not even in the US yet. And he has written it with his wife, Dr. Karina Reiss. And this book goes through many of the scientific and medical elements with lots of graphs and charts. It's not a very long book, which is really great. So some of these books you can get. I'm not necessarily promoting Amazon because it's just censoring a lot of books. If you can get it there, sure, try that. But I would just look for their actual sites. Most of the time you have to go to particular publishers now and try to find books that will be still being allowed, and possibly the author's site themselves or sites that they're working through. And that brings me to the last one that I heard about recently when I watched an interview with Spiro, and he was now kicked off of YouTube. But I did not see it on YouTube because I am watching videos on BitChute and Brighteon, so I'm seeing things anyway. And I'm very glad, and I want to tell people to move over to these other sites. If this video is taken down, you can follow it on BitChute, Brighteon. I haven't put any videos up yet on Brighteon, but I will be doing that. And I do have 2 from about 3 months ago on BitChute, and I may get a Rumble account and a brand new Tube account. Those are other video platforms. And good news, Gab has created a Gab TV segment of their site. So I will be experimenting with that too. I do like Gab. I'm on MeWe too, but I'm not using it as much. And so Gab is very interesting. If they have a social part, I might look into that. And as well, Brighteon has a social part, Brighteon Social. So I'm going to look into that as well. Because I do think we have to look into new media, partly to get through what's going on right now, and partly to continue to have free speech available and for everyone to find many sides of many topics. This is how we use our mind, we use our intuition, we use our full spectrum of our senses, and we formulate our beliefs. And beliefs are not stagnant. Beliefs can change all the time. But we are living, growing, understanding beings and organisms, and we really continue to learn and grow. And the last book that I wanted to mention, which was the interview with Spiro, was the interview was James Perloff. And James Perloff has also made a book which came out of a blog that just became too unruly, and it is now called COVID-19, What's to Come, or the next stages. I have to look at all that, and it's red-pilled. So he has many different groupings of information and different sections. I think it's 5 sections. It's also not a huge, long book. It's reasonable. I think it's about 5-6 chapters per section. And the sections talk about some of the different proposed theories and all the different studies that may not be really out there, even though they've been done. And some of the theories come from Dr. Kaufman, Andrew Kaufman, and that's the theory of this virus has not even been isolated. And that's a little bit of the theory with Dr. Tom Cowan as well, that the way we even see contagion may need to be examined. So there's several different beliefs of what has led up to this, how it's being dealt with, and there's a lot of good things going on in terms of how we're looking at medicine. So I think this is actually an incredible time of learning if we truly are given the exposure of all of these great minds working towards discovery and exposure and all of this stuff. Now, in line with that is a massive, massive censorship campaign going on. So if you don't believe that, then maybe you don't even see this video because it will not be shown to you. Maybe you do see it and you have to try to take it with a new set of eyes, basically, because I have experienced it. I have experienced it in my tiny little channels, and I don't even have big channels. I have experienced it in my life before this year, already with my family in the past, and with my family that I grew up with and my family that I am raising. So this to me is an extension of something that's already been happening for a very long time. And even in my own business and my work, where I've been trying to see where I really want to go with the directions, when I finally came to the Healy device and I've been finally seeing true frequency and resonance work, this is where the energy work and the biofield and the electromagnetic field of humans and animals and plants and all living things can be used in a way that we can truly learn about ourselves and help ourselves. So I'm very excited because to me, this has helped me get to a point where I am truly getting into the work that I would love to do and that I have always been working towards in different ways, but now it's coming to a point where it can be so much more helpful and focused. And I am growing into my convictions. So that is where the authentic self comes out. And then the tribe, your real connected, like-minded group may attract in a much more authentic way. And it's been a very long time for me to have that in business, in friends, in all of these things, in relationships, because I was always living a survival life, especially if you live in a state like California, where it's so expensive just to live and raise a family is a whole other matter. And not being someone who's wealthy or came from wealth or had wealth from your family and given all that down. No, just regular people, big family. I came from big family. I'm one of 7 children. And just doing the absolute basics to live your life and have your children have a good life. So I had no time. I had no time to think. And most of the time, and most of the people who were around me, whether or not they have money or not, they have to work hard to keep this going. So I just think that this, yeah, sure, the pandemic has created time to think. And then some people are thinking, well, it's time to just be kind and all of this stuff. I'm like, well, by default, people were able to research and people were able to read and think and do all of this stuff, which for me, I have my Gemini rising. I have several air signs in my chart and fire. So it's usually about quick thinking, mind information, and backed by fire and action. So I don't fight the flow of my nature anymore. I am actually so excited when actually I find that these things are placed in front of me. And now I see the next thing, and the next thing leads to the next thing. To me, that is amazing synchronicity. And this is when it happens, when you are truly going with the flow and you're starting to really hone in on what it is you believe in. you have convictions about and for, and you will be guided. It's just your own soul is doing what it needs to do. Doesn't mean it's your final purpose. It doesn't mean any of that. It means that we are on the journey of the education that our soul came here to do. Now, sometimes I was upset being in a time when we're being told not to be together, and there's so many conflicting ideas, and then within my own family, people are not actually just being connected, which is, to me, the most detrimental thing. So I was upset at some point. But now I'm starting to see, back to my true and original beliefs, that we are here for a purpose. We are here in this time for a purpose. I have children in this time for a purpose. So this is the time we needed to come here. And whether we were here earlier or we just were born, like my new nephew, we are here for something important in this time, to learn, to affect, to do. And that brings me to the last and final point. If you have not seen my blog on my site, I don't often blog, but I will try to do that a little more. Whether or not the videos get out and the podcasts stay up, I'm not sure. But I would say take a look at this last blog where I have several sites, several people, several platforms to start following and looking into, so that you can actually be aware of the multitude of information that's out there, and really, really, really smart and accomplished and credentialed and qualified people are putting this out there, and they are being disgraced, discredited, censored, canceled. It's kind of unbelievable. And that to me is starting to mean the people who are being censored are the people you need to listen to. Because that means they're hitting a really, really raw nerve of people who think that you're not allowed to say something. And when in this world, when we talk about freedom, is it okay to say someone else is not allowed to say something? You've got to realize that that means something is really wrong. There's a meme that I like. Of all these memes, there's several memes that are great, but there's one that was in the beginning, and it said, the people who hid Anne Frank were the ones who were breaking the law. And the people who were looking for Anne Frank were the ones who are following the law. So the law is not always correct. And I want you to remember that right now. And like I said, with my peacemaker lipstick, maybe I won't be a peacemaker right now, because there comes a time when you need to stand up for actual truth. And I didn't know when I made my business name, TLC, Truth, Love, Creativity, I did not know that this year would come. And now, more than ever, my business name represents these principles that I believe in so strongly. Truth is absolutely vital for everything. We're always seeking it. We're always trying to understand it. We're always trying to be intuitive. We're trying to listen to ourselves. We have been given so many connections with the universe that does tell us. We know when something's right. We know when something's not right. Listen to that. And love is connected with that. Connected with the interconnectedness of everything. Of just like the card said, we are interconnected. with the universe, with the earth, with the air, with our bodies, with the spirit, with the God force. These things have been designed in such a way that it is to benefit us and to help our soul grow and our collective conscious to actually evolve. This cannot be so wrong that it would allow one simple thing to take us out. So we cannot be so egotistical in the medical profession to believe that we can do better than our actual body. Remember that. And the actual last website I wanted to mention, which is on my list of sites on that blog post, it says new sites at the end of it, is Peoplesrights.org. Now this, at the moment, is a US-based site. And I am a part of it, and I want as many people as possible to become a part of it, because it is about our rights. And it is about learning how to connect again and defend each other and our rights. If you are in another country and you do not have that type of thing, if you type that into the interweb, hopefully you will find a type of site in your area of groups that are creating something to connect and to support each other in helping them to fight for their rights, especially when something drastic is happening and something unfair, unjust, and all of those things. This is about freedom. If you do not have your rights, you do not have freedom. So to me, this is very important. I am a Libra. I'm the only one in my family who's a Libra. It doesn't mean I'm the only air sign, but this is what I feel I have come here for. To fight for freedom. Freedom to, like the last part of my website name and my business name, to create. We have to discern our truth, love endlessly, and create. We can create art, we can create communication, we can create through our wisdom and our interpretation, and we can share. I am so grateful for everyone who has made videos, and that made videos in the beginning, even on Facebook and YouTube, and I was able to see them. And very quickly they were taken down. And these are platforms, and these are speakers, and these are bloggers, and these are vloggers who've been doing this for a very long time. A lot of writers who have seen the writing on the wall a lot longer than I did. So I'm actually very grateful that I found them, and I found these other sites before I completely lost touch with it all. Because right now, you can't even search and find this. Search has been censored. You actually need to type in something that is exactly the word. And you may need a VPN. You may need a special browser. You may need all of these special things just to be able to find information with freedom of speech. So I hope that everyone who sees this video takes it with the same appreciation that I did from the others who I found were just risking everything to share information. Because that is what I'm doing now. I will be canceled, I'm sure, if it is even shared. The platforms mostly just don't even put any of my things out, so maybe that's why it never grew. That's okay. I just hope you find these other platforms. If you look for me on them, most of the time I am under Robin M. That's one username, or Robin M. DG, and the D and the G are just stuck right together. So look for me on those. I will put this video on BitChute, and I may experiment with Gab TV and maybe BitChute Social, possibly Parler. I'm not too frequent on Parler or MeWe, but those are other ones. But I really do believe in video, audio. I've been getting books read because I've been listening to audiobooks. It takes me a long time to read actual books. I have to get back into that mode. But I actually want these books hard copy because I do believe it will be difficult to get them someday. And if you look at a time in the 40s and in the Second World War, and when was information being censored like that, where books were being burned? Can you believe this is happening? It's kind of amazing. Amazing in a good way? I don't know. Well, I will actually be joining my group on my group, which is my area in Arizona, on the group website, Peoplesrights.org, in Arizona tomorrow in Phoenix for a get-together, and maybe there will be one on the January 6th as well. So if you can connect with your groups on that site, it will bring community together, and it will help you to stay on this side that fights for each other, and it fights for freedom, and it fights for your rights. So I hope that you found this useful. You can share it if you like. I don't know if it's worth the risk. But otherwise, just follow me on BitChute for sure, and on Gab, and on Brighteon. Have a great day, everyone. I will talk to you next time.